An article in TruthDig.com, the top 10 signs the United States is the most corrupt country in the world. This is written by Juan Cole. We've covered some of his other stuff. It's pretty amazing, and it just shows that myth, that we've got a little problem here, but we're so much better than everybody else. And yet we refuse to look at the fact that the rest of the world, in particular Middle Eastern countries that we bomb the shit out of, are terrified of us. And we are completely corrupt. We can't even investigate the DNC lawsuit. That should be what journalists are still screaming about, not Russiagate. All right, cover Russia, sure, but we should be talking about that. We should be talking about the fact that 80-some% of the country wants gun reform and it can't seem to happen for some mysterious reason. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about the pipelines that are everywhere? Why aren't we talking about that? So I'm going to read these things that Juan Cole put in there, and it's pretty interesting because we're quick to Afghanistan's so corrupt over there in China. Oh man, they're so corrupt. Yeah, those countries are corrupt, but how are we better? Right? Here's what he says. While it is true that you don't typically have to bribe your postman to deliver the mail in the U.S., in many key ways, America's political and financial practices make it, in absolute terms, far more corrupt than usual global South suspects. After all, U.S. economy is worth over $18 trillion a year, so in our corruption, a lot more money changes hands. Right? Because they're so, you don't have to bribe your post. All these like daily business things, we don't have to bribe people. But the big corruption is unbelievable. And it is due to a complete dismantling of any type of representative democracy in favor of just complete, the corporations just own everybody, right? One, a sure sign of corruption is an electoral outcome like 2016. An adult non-entity like Donald Trump got filthy rich via tax loopholes or predatory behavior in his casinos and other businesses, and then was permitted to buy the presidency with his own money. He was given billions of dollars in free campaign time every evening on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox and other channels, which is great, by the way. Some of you sent me this, and I know many of you have watched it if you haven't. Recently, they interviewed Jill Stein on, I believe, CNN, and they're like, Jill, what do you think of all these Russia gates, and how are you? And Jill Stein just goes, you guys gave him $6 billion in free advertising. Don't put this on me. It was great. She's far more articulate than I am. Here's some more corruption. Right. So Trump was good advertising revenue. So that's why they would, as we talked about, cut away from Bernie Sanders giving a speech to show an empty podium, because an empty podium where Trump is about to speak gets more ad revenue. The head of CBS goes, hey, he's good for ratings. I don't like him, but he's good for ratings. So there's your filthy fucking corruption. You're not independent journalists. You're not a news source. You're just a corporate entity trying to turn a profit like everybody else. The Supreme Court got rid of campaign finance reform and allowed open, unlimited, secret buying of elections, and the height of corruption. The permitting of massive black money in our election was taken advantage of by the Russian Federation, which, having hopelessly corrupted its own presidential elections, managed to further corrupt the American ones as well. Once ensconced in power, Trump Inc. has taken advantage of the power of White House to engage in a wide range of corrupt practices, including an attempt to sell visas to wealthy Chinese and the promotion of Trump brand as a diplomacy. The rich are in total control. They are in a great position to bribe everybody. The Koch brothers, another mega-rich troglodytes, explicitly told Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan in 2017 that if the Republican Party, controlling all three branches of government, could not lower taxes on its main sponsors, there would be no billionaire backing of the party in 2018 midterms. Right? That's why the Republican Party always says, we got to cut the deficit. The Democrats do all these, whatever. And they added $1.5 trillion in this bullshit billionaire tax bailout. It's unbelievable. The 3 American billionaires are worth as much as the bottom 150 Americans. That's pretty corrupt. The inequities, that's very corrupt. The wealthier the top 1% is, the more politicians it can buy to gather up even more of the country's wealth. In my lifetime, the top 1% has gone from holding 25% of privately held wealth under Eisenhower to 38% today. Number 3, instead of having short, publicly funded political campaigns with limited and or free advertising, as a number of Western European countries do, the U.S. has long political campaigns in which candidates are done big bucks for advertising. Then they got to spend it. There was just around $2.4 billion spent between Trump and Hillary in this last election. When French President Nicolas Sarkozy was defeated in 2012, soon thereafter, French police actually went into his private residence searching for an alleged $50,000 in illicit campaign contributions from an heiress. I thought to myself, seriously, $50,000 in a presidential campaign? Our presidential campaign cost $1 billion each. $50,000 in a rounding error, right? $50,000. The police went to his house. And 50 grand in our elections is nothing. It's just like, that's just like bribing a fucking valet to get you a cab quicker or something. American politicians don't represent the people. 4, money and corruption have seeped so far into our media system that people can, with a straight face, assert that scientists aren't sure human carbon emissions are causing global warming. Yeah, look at that. Look at how bad that is. 5, politicians can be bribed to reduce regulation of industries like banking. It's just the bribery, it's just unbelievable. Ted Cruz is paid. All those type of politicians are paid by big oil, by big guns, by big pharmaceutical companies. Republicans and Democrats both get bribed easily. The U.S. military budget is corporate welfare on a cosmic scale. I've seen it with my own eyes how officers in the military get out and then form companies to sell things to their former colleagues still on the inside, precisely because it is a cesspool of large-scale corruption. Trump's budget will throw over $100 billion extra taxpayer dollars at it. The U.S. has a vast gulag, this is number 7, of 2.2 million prisoners in jail and penitentiary. This is the private prison industry. And when some of them, not all of them are private, but this is part of it. 2.2 million people in prison? We're the wealthiest country? Why is there so much crime? Because there's not jobs, there's no opportunities, there's not good schools, there's not social services. Gee, I wonder. I wonder what's causing it. 8, the National Security Agency's domestic spying was a form of corruption itself and lends itself to corruption, with some 4 million government employees and private contractors engaged in its surveillance. Look at what we do. How are we a free society? Insider trading. Congress undid much of the law it hastily passed forbidding members, rather belatedly, to engage in insider trading, buying and selling of stock based on privileged knowledge of future government policy. And number 10, asset forfeiture in the drug war is corrupting police departments and the judiciary. Although some state legislatures are dialing this corruption practice back, it is widespread and a danger to the Constitution. So don't tell the global South how corrupt they are for taking a few petty bribes. Americans are not seen as corrupt because they only deal in big denominations. Steal $2 trillion and you aren't corrupt. You're respectable. Right. You can't bribe cops, but you can set up a private prison industry that exploits the poor, namely people of color. That's not corruption. Politicians don't serve the people that are in their constituency, people that are that vote for them. They don't serve them. They serve the corporations. That's not corrupt. The corporate media pushes their agenda. Military and big pharmaceutical and big corporations buy ad time on them. It's all corrupt. America is so arrogant. Our corruption is big and expensive and glitzy, so it's better than low-level street corruption of a third world country. We're a developing country. More American bullshit. Thanks for watching.